खुदा के पाक लोगों को खुदा से नुसरत आती है। खुदा के पाक लोगों को खुदा से नुसरत आती है। जब आती है तो फिर आलम को एक आलम दिखाती है। जब आती है तो फिर आलम को
all inclusive और साथ दूसरी कौन सी है लीडर्स करके न्यूयॉर्क के न्यूयॉर्क की भी अलग जमात है इसके अलावा न्यू जर्सी में कितने हैं?
न्यू जर्सी में करीबन 200 के करीब हो जाते हैं फैमिली में 250
करीब। यहाँ से किस तरफ है न्यू जर्सी डायरेक्शनली? वेस्ट पे और मगरब की तरफ है ये तो मुझे पता है, लेकिन ईस्ट पे तो समंदर है। आगे साउथ या नॉर्थ?
यहाँ से साउथ है, साउथ और नॉर्थ दोनों मिलते हैं।
अच्छा, स्लाइटली साउथ।
नॉर्थ जर्सी और सेंट्रल जर्सी एक जमात है नहीं।
अच्छा अच्छा।
इसका कुछ हिस्सा जो है इसी लेवल पे है, जैसे हमारे मिशन हाउस है यहाँ पे, बाकी कुछ नाम है।
This is a very good mission house, mashallah. Even better than what I expected. You shouldn't compare it with Union Street because that was the first mission bought how long ago? 16. At that time, imagine the size of the community, and then it was a great thing indeed compared to the resources of the community. So, one shouldn't boast of comparing with one's meager past.
जुमे की नमाज में 5 हुआ करते थे, 5-6 दोस्त हुआ करते थे।
न्यूयॉर्क में 50 आदमी थे उसमें।
यहाँ पर जुमे की
उस
नमाज
वक्त 50 थे।
Whatever it was, the whole
bar downstairs. We had a mission on the top of the bar.
Yeah.
Whenever they played the music, we could hear it.
right, I know.
Yeah.
So what are the prayer timings now? Prayer timings here. 5:30. And then it was 5:45 when I left, but it was about to be changed to 6. Fun?
Just by 6:40.
Very fun?
6:40.
6:50, yeah.
6:40 or 6:50.
6:50 here. So are you not on the same plane as Toronto?
No, we are still with the
You will more to the
east.
More expected. That's why. 1:30. And then from here.
about 29 miles.
29 miles. But at that time I thought this area was a bad area. Queens was not supposed to be one of the best areas anyway.
This is a good residential.
But this one is good. This area I found. Your place is first class.
Nice.
Still I hope this will maintain the same air and atmosphere there. And where is Abadi? He lives in the same house?
Yeah.
Uh,
Somebody,
No, I'm talking about Baji Abdul Hafiz,
Yes.
the widow of Khalifa Nasir Sahib.
Yes.
Long Island.
No.
Is she living in the same house?
Yes,
You know, Rashid?
same
Yes.
house.
Right now, a resolution that has been presented by Congressman Tony Hall of Ohio, a resolution in support of the Ahmadis, and that resolution has been supported by 16 other congressmen here in the United States. And we have a media kit, the list of congressmen, and the text of the resolution is in the media kit. The balance of the media kit that we have is biographical material and background on the Ahmadis and the Ahmadi problem that exists currently in Pakistan in relation to Ordinance 20. I think what we want to do now is have questions and answers and a statement from His Holiness.
Well, mentally I was not prepared to make a statement. I'm here for answering any questions which may naturally arise and which may stir anybody's mind. So if one of you, and I see only one of you who belongs really to press, to ask any question, I am at your disposal, please.
No, I'm fine,
You
sir.
are fine, okay.
Could you comment on the present situation in Pakistan?
In what respect?
In respect to your own...
Vis-a-vis Ahmadiyya Community?
Right.
Right. The situation is far from improving because the present government seems to be shaking, and the problems for the present government are on the up in every direction. They're rising and mounting so rapidly since the last few months that I think it has turned them jittery. The result being that they must find the same scapegoat again, because there is no other scapegoat available, to turn the attention of the public opinion towards an issue which is almost dying out as far as the masses go. So the real problem in Pakistan is not a problem of masses hating Ahmadiyya, but it's a problem of the government finding some excuse to remain in power for some more time. And the masses are not stirred up. There has never been a mass movement against Ahmadis. There never has been any crowds appearing in the streets and burning and looting Ahmadiyya property as such. This present crisis in the history of Ahmadiyya community is distinctly apart from the rest of the crises we have been facing in our past. There have been upheavals now and then against Ahmadis, but genuine ones, where masses were stirred up by some vested interests or by mullahs, and they really went into the streets and tried to disturb peace. But this time, it is completely government organized. It is much more a prosecution than persecution. And most of the cases, if you analyze the data, you will be surprised to find that most of the suffering which Ahmadis face is not from the public, but from the masses, from the government and the government-employed clergy. And not all the clergy of the Muslim sects in Pakistan is involved in it. In many other directions as well. During the Afghanistan problem, Jamaat Islami has been used by the government, and for other purposes, this so-called Khatm al-Nabuwat ulama belonging to Devbandi sect. So these are the two groups among the Muslim ulama which are constantly being employed by the government to stir up public sentiments against Ahmadis. But as far as the public sentiment is concerned, I have told you repeatedly, it's not there.
the masses are not stirred up. So much so that about a year ago, one of the government ministers had to remind the masses that the government is doing all it can. Why are you not responding? Why don't you rise up and utilize this grand occasion in your life? Still no response. Now, on the other hand, as I've already told you, the government is getting, slightly jittery about shaking in the foundations, etc., if it had any foundations at all. But the result is that the government is constantly now diverting attention to the Ahmadiyya issue by instructing the government officials to prosecute more and more Ahmadis in larger numbers everywhere for violation of the ordinance in every respect. So recently, a central government directive was issued to all the governors of the provinces and also to all the officials concerned and also to the magistrates, which you must remember hold dual power. Not only organizational matters are under them, but also judicial matters. They have power over judicial matters under Section 30 of Government of Pakistan. So they have been instructed to show positive anti-Ahmadiyya trend in their dealing with the Ahmadiyya issue and to entertain all the complaints raised against Ahmadis by the anti-Ahmadiyya section, which again, as I will refer to, are two sections, Jamaat Islami and Jamiyat Ulama Islam, that is the Bandi group. So the reports come that the detailed instructions are that if any Ahmadi anywhere is found to profess the fundamental article of Islamic faith, that is, there is no God but one, and Muhammad is his servant and prophet, he must be prosecuted immediately, and all the agencies concerned should move against such an Ahmadi. Again, if any Ahmadi is found with any written verse of the Holy Quran, like Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, I begin in the name of God, who is so all beneficent and merciful, he should be prosecuted against. If any Ahmadi is found to say Assalamu alaikum, that is the Muslim conventional greeting, saying peace be upon you, then he is also liable to be prosecuted immediately. If any Ahmadi mosque is found to have the inscription of La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah, then that mosque, the administration of that mosque should be prosecuted immediately and put to prison, and so on and so forth. So the last reports which were pouring in from Pakistan before I left London were of extremely disturbing nature, because hundreds of Ahmadi mosques have been proceeded against. The inscription of Kalama was wiped out with tar or other material to deface the mosque, and the people, whether they were directly concerned with that inscription or not, they were proceeded against according to the wish of the mullahs of that area. You know, what happens in Pakistan is not that you have to prove who was writing this and who is responsible for this and that. What they do is they have a list of the important people in that area against whom they want to proceed. And the most important people which are on their list are always the criminals, because they are the people who are reported against. Even if they know that it was a young boy who did it, they wouldn't care for it. They wouldn't care for him because it's no gain to them, no laurel gain as far as they are concerned. But if the head of the Ahmadiyya community there or his members of his executive body are involved in such cases, then they celebrate this occasion. So this is the general policy. The important people among Ahmadis in all those areas where mosques carry this inscription, and almost everywhere the mosques carrying this inscription. They are involved in criminal cases and put behind the bar, and also beaten up by police, and sometimes they're exposed to public. That is to say, those hooligans who come along with the mullahs, who are generally pupils of the mosques, and some stray street urchins, they come along in a crowd to celebrate the occasion of Ahmadis being arrested. So the police exposes them to them. Some very horrible pictures of this police brutality in their presence while they are arresting the Ahmadis. The mullahs and some few street urchins are permitted to beat them, lash them, and tear their clothes and blacken their face and smear them with mud and things. So all these things are happening in the broad daylight, but the most interesting feature is that the masses of the town are not stirred up at all. The only crime they commit is that they are neutral. They don't participate, but they don't prevent these happenings either. Just, sort of passive observers, they see things happening, but in private, whenever they meet Ahmadis, they decry these things, they condemn them, and say, but we don't have courage enough to face the mullah. But we don't like these things happening. So this is the situation in Pakistan as you find it today. From then on, it was compulsory for an Ahmadi under the law of Pakistan either to tell lies or be ready for persecution and prosecution. How it can happen in a civilized modern country, I can't explain that, but the fact is that according to this ordinance, which has been turned into an act of the parliament later on when the power was transferred from martial law to the civil authorities, it still exists, in toto. This ordinance requires that an Ahmadi must profess to be a non-Muslim. Now, if an Ahmadi, as an Ahmadi does, believe that he is a Muslim, he has full faith in the fundamental article of Islam, he has full faith in all the 5 pillars of Islam, and he worships like Muslims, he calls his houses of worship mosques, and he believes in every iota of the Quranic teachings. And he believes the Holy Prophet to be the last law-bringing prophet whose instruction is for all times to come and can never be changed. If an Ahmadi believes that obedience to the word and act of the Holy Prophet is a must for every Muslim, and he himself is one of them, then how can he declare himself to be a non-Muslim? This is the question. If you believe yourself to be something, and the law forces you to declare it contrary to what you believe, then this is tantamount to forcing you to tell lies. So it is a crime for Ahmadis to tell the truth in Pakistan. And for the truth, an Ahmadi is punished. For lies, he is punished in a different way. If he is a non-Muslim, he does not escape persecution or the possible sword of Damocles hanging on his head later on, because the heinous plot is that if the Ahmadis succumb to this pressure and declare themselves to be non-Muslims, then the next law would be passed that whoever is apostate and has denigrated from Islam, he must be murdered or stoned to death. This is already on the agenda of this assembly, and this various attempts have been made to have this resolution get through. Now they are waiting for this because first they want to bring Ahmadis to their knees and hurt them so much that ultimately they think there is no escape but to succumb to the demand and declare themselves to be non-Muslims and declare that no, there are other gods and Muhammad is not a true prophet, that sort of thing, which the Ahmadis can never do. But anyway, the plan is, if they succumb to this pressure and declare themselves to be non-Muslims as under the law they should, then they would say, all right, now you accept, you are not Muslims, and the punishment for apostasy in Islam is not only murder, but murder by stoning, by public. So which way can Ahmadi move? All the passages of possible escape are shut on him. There is no way he can survive in Pakistan according to the plan. But the Ahmadis have full faith in God. They have faced similar crises, or lesser crises, of course, but of the same nature before in their history. And we always come through, not as in a complete whole, but larger than before. So despite this persecution, the only face-saving aspect for the Ahmadis is this, that under all this trouble and persecution and prosecution, the Ahmadis are still growing in Pakistan. There is not a single day which has dawned on Ahmadis to see them reduced in number. Thereby, we are further strengthened in our faith, and we are reassured that no community who can survive under this trial, this ordeal, and survival, not only just the survival, but a survival with the improvement in every direction, progress in number, in strength, in every other possible field of human progress. So we are not worried as far as the Ahmadiyyat is concerned. We know from Zia-ul-Haq's commitment, public commitment, that he and his government are determined to exterminate the cancer of Ahmadiyyat, as he put it. In his public statement, which was read out in England by one official of the Embassy of Pakistan, in the presence of Ambassador of Pakistan 2 years ago. Now, this is the extent to which Zia's government seems to be committed to exterminate Ahmadiyyat. So is the following so-called democratic government, which has no democratic roots, but America would have them believed as a democratic government for consumption in America particularly. So whatever the nature of that government is, they have inherited the same attitude, the same determination, and the same stance against Ahmadis. So Junaid also has committed publicly that we are determined to totally uproot the evil of Ahmadiyyat so that they no longer exist as such. Not only that, Mr. Junaid is known to have made an appeal to all the Muslim countries to follow the example of Pakistan and take the same measures as have been taken against Ahmadis by the government of Pakistan in their respective countries. So, as far as the so-called democracy is concerned, some people may be led to believe, who don't know the situation, that perhaps things would be easing for Ahmadis, easing up. No change whatsoever. The same government, the same type of government, hanging from the same ceiling, not growing from the roots of the masses, and completely unrepresentative government. Ulama in Pakistan, who are leading the anti-Ahmadiyya stance, they are directly being paid by Saudis. The conference here in London, for instance, which was recently held, was fully financed by the Saudis, and hundreds of people were paid their full fares, etc., from all the countries of the world, not all, but many countries of the world. The ulama, which are most anti-Ahmadiyya, were brought to London at Saudi expense, and they held a conference there in the name of Khatm-e-Nubuwwat Conference. And according to the British reports as well, the financing is done for these organizations by Saudis. So they are involved, of course. I can't help in any way, because all the regimes which are anti-Ahmadiyya regimes are American stooges. And wherever American influence increases, anti-Ahmadiyya stance increases. So Americans are past masters in the art of running with the horse, riding with the horse, and or with the hounds as they call it, and also taking sides with the hunted hare or rabbit. And they can perform it so masterly that as far as the human rights are concerned, they would like us to come to Americans and seek their help or beg their help to make a little noise or try to persuade the government of Pakistan to go slow and this and that. At the same time, all the regimes which are trampling the human rights in the Islamic world are fully dependent on American support. Wherever America has gained support in the Muslim world, that country has turned into a medieval sort of state with the same medieval policies and the same persecution and trampling of the human rights. Now look at what is happening in Saudi Arabia, and show me one ally of the government of the state, American state, which is more dependent and more reliable on America for survival. Dependent on America for survival, and most reliable are one and the same things. It is Saudi Arabia. Pakistan. What dirty work Pakistan is doing for America at her own cost is apparent to everyone. I mean, there's no secret about it. In Afghanistan, the policy which is being pursued by the present regime could not be pursued by any independent national regime based on popular public opinion. It is impossible. So, it is in the American interest to prolong the life of this regime. So it is entirely dependent. And also, the dirty work it's doing for the Western interests is kicking back now so dangerously that all the peace of the country is destroyed. The Afghan Mujahideen, the so-called Afghan Mujahideen who have been given shelter, contain about 5 to 10% of Russian agents who, under the guise of migrants, have prepared everywhere the network for destroying the peace of the country by bombing, by planting bombs here and there in public places, and also creating unrest, lack of confidence in this policy, further lack of confidence in the government's pursuance of Islamic views and this and that. So the result is that the bombs which were never heard of in Lahore or in Pindi or Islamabad, they are exploding every day now, killing a few people, injuring many, many others, and the highways are no longer safe. Robberies have become the order of the day. Public riots in Karachi have become a regular daily feature, and now people in Karachi are calling their city a second Lebanon. So all this has happened because of this pursuit of policy of giving shelter to the Afghans, and in the name of that shelter, lot of money, American money, has been misappropriated as well by the members of the regime, and this give and take policy is going on. Some is transferred to the Mujahideen and a major part is kept in the pockets and so on and so forth. So the whole country is on the verge of destruction. On the other hand, because of this policy, all the popular parties of Pakistan are deprived of a chance to express their will. Committed to the spread of Christianity, particularly in those days. in all their colonies, thereby to gain political strength out of it. And in their parliaments, there were repeated references of a complete plan to Christianize India and Africa along as we could during their rule. It was estimated at that time and mentioned in the parliament repeatedly that within the next 50 years from them, speaking from that point of view, they would be able to convert the whole. Yes. The agents are made popular, not unpopular, consciously. And to what purpose he could serve the British cause after having become the most hunted person in India vis-a-vis the Muslims. So this is all absurd and meaningless. Those who are real agents and whose agency can be historically proved, they are today the leaders of the world of Islam. And nobody looks at that. Saudis, how can you deny the fact that the Saudi regime was right from the start nurtured, brought up, supported, and strengthened to topple the Ottoman Empire's influence in the most central part of Arabia, that is Hijaz. Agreements have been published, secret documents have been published. They are for anybody to go and see in the British Museum Library or anywhere. They have been published by Hitti, for instance, and by other Arab scholars. And you can read all the terms, thereby making it clear that the Saudis will be dictated for their foreign policies by the British. In their home policies also they would not be entirely free. They will be supported at the cost of this and that. This agreement, and the first of all, and the most interesting thing, in 1835, Muhammad bin Saud, there are two Ibn Sauds. First, the grandfather of the known Ibn Saud, and the second who belonged to the 2nd century. I'm talking of the first. In 1735, Muhammad ibn Saud, under British patronage, came into an agreement. Any claimant who says that we are the British agents, on the contrary, as I have attempted to prove, could I have a
1974 events is where members of the community attacked the train and which led to repercussions.
I'll come to that, please. Allegedly attacked, you should have said.
Well, I'm using the word alleged just because I don't want to.
Despite the demands from Ahmadis, that why is it kept secret? If it proves the point of view of the government that they were the Ahmadis who initiated all this, and the atrocity attributed to Ahmadis which they committed against the other Muslims traveling by train, if they were correct, then it was in the fitness of thing for the government to publish that report. Even till today, that report is not published. I have met with Justice Samdani, he is still alive. Anybody can go and meet him, and in private he would tell you quite a different story from what it is. The fact is that it was a planned attempt to create an incident at Rabwa because Bhutto had earlier decided to shift sides, and because of the political compulsions, again this is political, he had decided to become the hero of the opponents rather than support Ahmadis while knowing it to be almost an unpopular cause, Previously he was brought to power with great Ahmadi help. This is an established fact. Everybody knows it. Once in power, he had decided to stay there willy-nilly. And it happens in the third world countries. Once you are promoted to power, you know how to stay as long as you have the army on the right side. So he also wanted to have the mullah on the right side. So he decided to champion their cause, because he knew if he did not, in the coming election, they would raise up the Ahmadi issue and they will paint Bhutto as an Ahmadi agent who was brought to power with their help, and everybody knew it. There was no reason for them to
beliefs and different things. And As far as I am concerned, I would like to ask you a very direct questions, and I would like to have very direct answers from you. Mr. Saab, according to the Ahmadiyya belief, do you think that Mirza Ghulam Muhammad, late Mirza Ghulam Muhammad Sahab, was a prophet?
I'll answer that question, but permit me before that to rectify the first question or the background of the question. You started with a postulation that there is a difference on doctrinal or other important divisions of faith. Why not do it from here instead of checking? Okay. Yes, please.
Yes, Mr. With due respect to you, can we substantiate this claim with the Quranic ayah or ayat in which directly Allah has said that prophets will come after the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam?
Subordinate prophets, as I have explained, please.
No, I mean with the
not independent prophets.
With the direct reference with Mirza Ghulam Muhammad.
Of course, I'll give you references, but please bear with me.
Yes, certainly.
And first, let me again clarify the point. You cannot attribute a claim to a person who has never made that claim. So stick to the claim that he has made. He says he is that reformer which was promised, and according to the Holy Quran and according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet, the status of that reformer is that of a subordinate prophet. This is the claim. And that I can substantiate.
Yes,
one second, if I may. In other words, he did not claim that he is, or that he is a prophet?
Independent prophet on his own authority, he never claimed.
Okay, I have here a quotation, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes, please.
Which was published, I understand, in Akhbar Am of May 23, 1908, in which he is supposed to have said, I am a prophet under a divine decree. I shall be a sinner if I disclaim it. And when God calls me a prophet, how can I deny it? I will stick to it to my last breath.
That is correct. Absolutely correct. This is what I'm saying. Okay. He claimed that prophet, and he has spoken a lot on this subject from various angles. At places he denied the charges of claim to the prophethood, specifying that when you refer to me as a claimant to prophecy, independent of the Holy Prophet of Islam, that is not what I claim. So I decry such a claim. If you refer to me as a claimant to a prophecy subordinate to the prophecy of the Holy Prophet and his message, that is, I have not come to change a jot of the Holy Quran, I have not come to change a jot of the word of the Holy Prophet or an iota of his traditions, his conduct, his practices, and I believe them to be everlasting till the end of the day. Within the four walls of this fundamental claim, I am appointed by God directly to lead the Ummah, and as such I am automatically a prophet because of all the reformers, those who are commissioned by God and who are to be believed in by a people to whom he addresses, he is a prophet. In this definition, he claimed to be a prophet and repeatedly said, as such God has named me a prophet. Now, as far as the substantiation of his claim is concerned, on the basis of the Holy Quran, he, among other things, he referred to a well-known verse which occurs in Surah An-Nisa, which reads, وَمَنْ يُطَعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ فَأُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ مِنَ النَّبِيِّينَ وَالصِّدِّيقِينَ وَالشُّهَدَاءِ وَالصَّالِحِينَ وَحَسُنَ أُولَٰئِكَ رَفِيقًا. Meaning, of course you know the meaning, but let me explain for those who don't understand Arabic. مَنْ يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ. Whoever obeys, not just believes in, obeys Allah and the Prophet, not any other prophet. Specifically, the Holy Prophet is mentioned and referred to as the Prophet. Ar-Rasul. What would happen to him? Is it a crime he has committed, or it's a great service he has rendered and earns Allah's pleasure? The second is the case which is further explained. أُولَٰئِكَ مَعَ الَّذِينَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمْ. Only these would be among the people who earn Allah's favor to the extent that God would bestow rewards on them. Al-Inam. Now, this is a very important part of the verse because it excludes the rest from being recipient of that reward. Ulaika is al-hasr. Here it is used as a hasr. The declaration is that from now on, after the appearance of the Holy Prophet of Islam, all the rewards which have ever been shown by God to man are limited only to those who obey Allah and this Prophet. Now, what are those rewards? The list begins from here. Minan Nabiyyin, was-Siddiqina, was-Shuhada'i, was-Salihina, wa hasuna ulaika rafiqa. There are only 4 rewards known to those who understand the terminology of the Holy Quran. Religious awards or rewards, whatever you may call it. And the first one among them is An-Nabiyyin. The second, As-Siddiqeen. Then Shuhada wa Salihin. So the founder of Ahmadiyyat referred to this verse and said, particularly, bring to focus of your attention the first condition laid down for these awards, which is you have to be a subservient to the Holy Prophet. Without being a total, without having submitted yourself completely to this Prophet, you can't earn even the lowest of awards, not to mention the highest. But if you rise in your devotion, in your dedication to him, and in your compliance with his way of life, then no reward or award is forbidden to you. So if you become a Saleh, you will be a Saleh who is a servant of the Holy Prophet of Islam. So will you be a Shaheed only after his appearance if you are a servant to the Holy Prophet. So also you can become Siddiq, but with this condition in mind, and so you can be one of the Nabiyyin under him, not free or independent of him. Now this explanation of the Holy Founder of Ahmadiyyat is fully substantiated by the earlier scholars of Islam.
Those who disbelieve that he is not a prophet.
Thank you for asking this question, which has been so many times asked of me and many Ahmadis, so that the issue is emotionalized rather than discussed straightforwardly. You know, this question always tends to retaliate and create retaliation. If I say kafir, oh, you call me kafir, you are the kafir, and this and that. I mean, these things must not be emotionalized. You should consider them with a cool temperament like adult people. What would be the status of that person? Let me ask you, who, if Imam Mahdi comes, denies him and refuses to believe in him and calls him a kafir, calls him the one who is attributing things to God falsely, what would be the status of that person in your opinion? First tell me. And the one who is attributing things to God falsely, what would be the status of that person in your opinion? First tell me.
No, I guess instead of asking me, I want to know from you what...
The same is my answer as you are going to give me. Because I hold him to be that Mahdi who has come. So anybody, and you know, if you search your own hearts, you know, and this I have asked of other scholars of Islam, and they have been most straightforward to me in answering this question. They always tell me, we don't believe in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad to be the Mahdi, okay. But whenever the Mahdi comes, whoever refuses to believe in him, not to mention indulging in invectives and calling him bad names and all that, he will become a kafir awal Imam Mahdi. And as such, virtually, he will be considered as a kafir. So the answer is, if he is the Imam Mahdi, this is my answer. And I believe him to be the Imam Mahdi. Truly and honestly.
Let me go ahead with
Yes.
the assumption.
If, back to the same.
If Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, late Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, is Imam Mahdi, according to the Ahadith that I was going through last night,
Yes, please.
it is said that Imam Mahdi will come in Damascus. And how come Imam Mahdi can come in Rabwa?
Can you quote that hadith, please?
Of course, you have Tafhim al-Quran.
No, I don't. And
it is in Tafhim al-Quran. There are few hadiths.
Well, I mean, that is the question. Let me point out. You see, there is a book published on the question of Imam Mahdi lately. It says Al-Mahdi wal-Mahdawiyin. It's a book of that size. I've got it. You read it from the first page to the end. Thousands of traditions have been attributed to the Holy Prophet regarding how the Mahdi would appear, what would be his signs, how you can recognize him. And most of them are contradictory to each other. There is so much said on this. Some say he will be a Fatimi, some say no, he will be born elsewhere. Some say he will go to a ghar called Antakya and would reappear from there, and so on and so forth. No, just a moment. Just a minute. Let me first finish this. Yes, follow it up. Please wait. Have patience with me. When you ask a question, my answer has to be longer than the question itself.
Yeah, of course.
Yes. So, what is the criterion for judging these differing traditions and basing our faith on them? Because if we make a wrong choice, we'll be making a wrong choice for the Mahdi as well. So it's a very essential matter which has to be dealt with first with a cool-headed approach. Since if you consider it to be wrong, you correct me, please. I believe that any tradition of the Holy Prophet which speaks of such signs as is beyond human beings to interfere with, which do not belong to the power of man to change, to alter, to interfere with. If such a tradition comes to be fulfilled, it has to be relied upon. But and also, if the tradition is of a nature which cannot happen accidentally, if things spoken of in a tradition can happen accidentally, they cannot be a distinctive sign or distinctive feature.
Interpretation of the Quran has divided us. I suppose if we take the Quran as it is, we will not have this.
My dear friend, without interpretation you can't understand anything. Without interpretation,
Quran take as it is. That's in Jannah it is said.
It's impossible. The Holy Quran uses terms, spiritual terms, religious terms. It says, bring your parents under the benign wing of your mercy. Now, how can you translate wing? How can you bring your parents under the benign wing? Where is that wing? There are terminologies and terminologies which have to be understood.
Muhkamat are there, as it is.
I've already spoken on this subject, and then, if you are interested, I can provide you with the cassette of that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
so Swati, the name Prophet is for Quran. It's really serious. You better find out. Start building it later on possibly. Because one of the piece has been extracted, and both sides there are teeth who have
edges which were previously not felt while speaking because the tongue would not strike against them normally. Now because of the gap has been created in between, the tongue tends to slightly push inside and strike against the edges and I feel it. आप कौन है? हैं? तो बताइए इसमें रात में आओगे बचपन में? अच्छा नहीं अपने बचपन का गए मेरा बचपन तो नहीं होगा आप बच्चे थे मैं बड़ा था उसको और जो आप बातें किया करते थे वो ऐसी नहीं थी कि इस मजलिस में बता सकते So already he is the father of grown-up children. No, don't. Don't be so harsh on your child.
You also know me from
And who else would like to inform us of his presence? Yeah.
In charge of computer operation.
Computers, mashallah. Software or hardware?
Software.
Software.
मैं महमूद आलम है मैं डॉक्टर शमीक साहब का लड़का हूँ
You're also twins?
जी
You're slightly taller. Older than, no?
Triplets हैं।
They are triplets हैं? Where is the third one?
वो पार्सल है
You have this psychological association with each other as well?
Yeah.
नासरा के दामाद हैं मेरी बहन के मुनीरा से शादी
Both of them?
No.
आपने तो अलग से हैं कहा ना तो like a plural use.
पार साहब की लड़की से हुआ है
Oh yes, I know. Yes. I know how you have grown, haven't you? You were a slim boy, without an extra ounce of anything. What happened to you?
My job is like this, I have to sit every time. Accumulating.
I think you're the right answer.
It's taxi driver.
Now he's eating fast food.
Rashid Sahib. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
So this is a question about life after death.
Yes.
When one passes away, what happens to the soul? Does the soul remain in a place till the day of judgment? And also,
Which place?
I don't know. But where would the soul be? Because it's,
You know, you are talking in a language which may not be applicable to soul. This is what I am pointing out. Where is your soul? Tell me.
well, I believe that the soul is enclosed in my body.
Is it? If I cut a finger, will your soul be dismembered to that much?
Well,
If somebody, I don't mean you and no, I would never think of hurting you at all. But I mean, if anybody severs one arm of somebody else, or a leg, or both the legs, leaves him only with a trunk and only just the head on top of a poor neck, what would happen to him? What about his soul?
that's what I would like to find out. The way I thought that you have a soul, and when you die, the soul leaves, and that's when you die.
No, what I mean to say is, consider, the soul is within you, yet it does not occupy a space. It lives in the same dimensions, apparently, where your body is existing. But you cannot pinpoint here it is. And you can't reach it. As a whole, you know it is something which is related to body, but not entirely related to body. It has no shape like body, but still as if living within the four walls. In some cases, it reaches out much, much farther than the body can ever reach, to the expanse of the universe, through the eyes, through the sight. Through the hearing, it can reach out some distances. Through touch, it can only reach things closest to the surface, not beyond. In heat, it has a certain measure of reach, and so on and so forth. So what is soul then? What is its reach? The thing is, this is why the Holy Quran tells us you cannot understand soul. This is why when the questions were asked about the soul, وَيَسْأَلُونَكَ عَنِ الرُّوحِ, the answer was قُلِ الرُّوحُ مِنْ أَمْرِ رَبِّي. They ask you about the soul, tell them the soul is the word of God. And there is no other way you can understand it. This is why all the philosophers' attempts in the past have been totally frustrated, and nobody has ever been able to answer this question, what the soul is. Some call it consciousness. Some call it the life force. Some call it Atma and this and that, whatever the name be. It is the reality of knowing things beyond the chemical and physical laws. You know, that reality is born out of you, and how it is maintained we do not know. What Allah tells us is this, that after death, this reality would continue to live. In what form? Neither we know it, nor can we ever know it. Because the Holy Quran says, وَيُنْشِئُكُمْ فِي مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. He would raise you into something of which you have no knowledge. So when Allah says, you have no knowledge, how can I impart knowledge upon you? أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم. جب میں شکاگو گیا تو شکاگو کے متعلق مجھے واشنگٹن میں خصوصیت کے ساتھ متنبہ کیا گیا کہ جہاں ہمارا مرکز ہے وہ نہایت خطرناک علاقہ ہے. شکاگو 2 حصوں میں تقسیم ہے. بیچ میں سے ایک سڑک ایسٹ 80 یا ویسٹ 80 دونوں طرف جاتے ہوئے اس کا نام بدل جاتا ہے، وہ گزرتی ہے، شکاگو کو 2 حصوں میں تقسیم کر دیتی ہے. ایک حصہ وہ ہے جس میں سیاہ فام امریکن بستے ہیں، یعنی افریقو امریکنز. ایک حصہ وہ ہے جس میں سفید فام امریکن بستے ہیں. جو سیاہ فام امریکنوں کا علاقہ ہے ان دنوں میں خصوصیت کے ساتھ مشہور تھا کہ وہ سفید آدمی کو اپنے علاقے میں دیکھ ہی نہیں سکتے، اور شاذ کے طور پر ان سے بچ کر کوئی آدمی واپس آ سکتا ہے، اس لیے کوئی سفید آپ کو وہاں دکھائی نہیں دے گا. اور ایسے غیر ملکی جو بیچ کے لوگ ہیں، نہ پورے سفید نہ پورے کالے، وہ بھی ان کے حملوں کا نشانہ بنتے رہتے ہیں، اور اکثر ان میں سے وہاں جاتے ہوئے اپنے آپ کو محفوظ نہیں سمجھتے. اس لیے مجھے بتایا گیا کہ آپ نے اگر ٹھہرنا ہو تو کسی پاکستانی کے گھر ٹھہریں جو باہر کا رہنے والا ہو، باہر کے علاقے میں رہتا ہو. مسجد میں جانا ہو تو دن کے وقت پوری حفاظت کے ساتھ 1-2 کاریں اور ساتھ لے کر چلیں، اور شیشے ہر وقت چڑھائے رکھیں. ایسا خوفناک نقشہ کھینچا گیا کہ میں نے پسند نہیں کیا کہ میں اپنی بیوی اور بچیوں کو بتاؤں، ورنہ میرے لیے مشکل پڑ جاتی، کیونکہ کرنا تو میں نے وہی تھا جو میں نے بہرحال کرنا تھا، جس کے متعلق میں فیصلہ دل میں کر چکا تھا. اس لیے میں نے وہاں پیغام بھجوایا کہ ہمارے صدر صاحب جو سیاہ فام امریکنوں میں سے تھے، میں ان کے گھر ٹھہرنا چاہتا ہوں، اس لیے وہ انتظام کر دیں۔ بڑے محبت اور اخلاص سے انہوں نے اپنے گھر ہمارا انتظام کیا۔ عین وہ علاقہ تھا جس کے متعلق سب سے زیادہ خوف کا اظہار کیا جاتا تھا۔ شکاگو پہنچنے کا حال یہ تھا کہ خیال تو یہ تھا کہ ہم شام کے وقت کسی وقت پہنچیں گے، لیکن بعض غلطیاں ایسی ہو گئیں تخمینے میں، جس کے نتیجے میں رات کے 1 بجے ہم شکاگو پہنچے۔ شکاگو رات 1 بجے پہنچنے کے متعلق تو سارا امریکہ میں اس وقت یہی مشہور تھا کہ اگر کسی جگہ کھڑا کر کے آپ شیشہ اتار کے بات کریں اور پوچھیں کہ کون سی جگہ ہے اور ان کو پتہ لگ جائے کہ آپ غیر ملکی یا ناواقف ہیں، تو لازماً وہاں یا قتل ہو جائیں گے یا زخمی ہوں گے اور آپ کا مال لوٹ لیا جائے گا۔ اس لیے کسی سے کچھ پوچھنا خودکشی کے مترادف ہے۔ علاقہ کہاں تھا مجھے اس کا کچھ علم نہیں تھا۔ کسی بہت وسیع شہر ہے، تقریباً 100 میل ایک طرف سے دوسرے طرف پہنچنے تک طے کرنے پڑتے ہیں، کیونکہ جس گھر سے میں واپسی پہ چلا تھا وہاں سے آخری شہر کے کنارے تک پہنچتے ہوئے پورے 96 میل ہو گئے تھے۔ گویا روا اور لاہور کے درمیان پورا شکاگو آباد ہے۔ اب وہاں بغیر کسی سے پوچھے یہ اندازہ لگانا کہ میں کس طرف مڑوں، کون سی سڑک لوں، یہاں تک کہ میں مرکز کے اتنا قریب پہنچ جاؤں کہ صرف 1 یا 2 خطرے مول لے کر تو میں وہاں پہنچ سکوں، یہ کسی انسان کے بس کی بات ہی نہیں ہے۔ ناممکن ہے۔ آپ 1000 دفعہ کوشش کر کے دیکھ لیں، آپ کبھی کسی ایسے ایڈریس پر اتنے بڑے شہر میں قریب نہیں پہنچ سکتے۔ چنانچہ میں سفر کرتا رہا اس سڑک پر، وہ ویسٹ 80 اس وقت تھی، میں ویسٹ کی طرف جا رہا تھا، اور میرے بیوی بچے مجھ سے پوچھتے رہے کہ اتنی دیر ہو گئی آپ کو چلتے ہوئے، آپ کہیں جاتے کیوں نہیں، پوچھتے کیوں نہیں؟ میں نے کہا بس میں اسی وقت جاؤں گا جب میرے خدا تعالیٰ دل میں ڈالے گا کہ اب مڑ جاؤ۔ چنانچہ ایک موقع پر پہنچ کے میں نے دائیں طرف مڑ گیا، پھر اس سڑک پر چلتا رہا، پھر خیال آیا کہ چلو اب ہم اس طرف مڑ جاتے ہیں، پھر اس طرف مڑ گئے، اور 1-2 موڑوں کے بعد ایک پیٹرول اسٹیشن نظر آیا۔ میں نے کہا یہاں پوچھتے ہیں۔ جب وہاں موٹر کھڑی کی تو جیسا کہ بیان کیا گیا تھا سارے ہی اس میں بلیک امریکنز تھے، کوئی ایک بھی سفید فام نہیں تھا، اور سب شرابوں میں مست اور چہرے اور حلیے سے اچھے خاصے خطرناک نظر آ رہے تھے۔ ان میں بعض موٹے تازے جو خاص لڑاکا طرز کے لوگ ہوتے ہیں وہ بھی، اور کار کھڑی ہوتے ہی انہوں نے کار کو گھیر لیا۔ چنانچہ میں اترا، میں نے ان کی طرف توجہ نہیں کی۔ ایک نوجوان لڑکی جو خود بدمستی تھی، اس کے دل میں اللہ تعالیٰ نے ڈالا، وہ آگے بڑھی اور مجھے کہا کہ تم کیا چاہتے ہو؟ میں نے کہا فلاں نمبر ہے ٹیلی فون کا، میں نمبر کرنا چاہتا ہوں، لیکن میرے پاس ٹوٹے ہوئے پیسے نہیں ہیں۔ اس نے کہا پیسے میں دوں گی اور میں نمبر ڈائل کرتی ہوں اور تمہیں صرف بات کرنی ہے۔ جب نمبر ڈائل کیا تو وہاں ہمارے ایک نور الدین نام کے ٹیکسی ڈرائیور ہوا کرتے تھے، جو بعد میں شاید تعلیم بھی اچھی حاصل کی انہوں نے۔ وہ ٹیلی فون پر بیٹھے ہوئے فوراً مل گئے۔ انہوں نے کہا کہ ہم تو آپ کا بڑی دیر سے انتظار کر رہے ہیں، بتائیں آپ کہاں ہیں؟ میں نے کہا مجھے پتہ نہیں، میں اس لڑکی کو فون دیتا ہوں، اس سے پوچھو کہ ہم کہاں ہیں۔ اس لڑکی سے اس نے بات کی، اس نے کہا دوبارہ فون پہ بات کرو۔ اس نے کہا آپ 5 منٹ کے واکنگ ڈسٹینس پہ ہیں یہاں سے، اس لیے بالکل کسی سے بات نہ کریں، میں پہنچا ہی پہنچا، اور ابھی میں موٹر کی طرف جا رہا تھا، اتنے میں کچھ لوگ آئے میری طرف کہ تم کون ہو، کیوں آئے ہو یہاں؟ اتنے میں موٹر کی لائٹ نظر آئی ان کے آنے کی، اور وہ پہنچ گئے، اور چونکہ وہ خود بھی سیاہ فام تھے اس لیے ان کو کوئی زیادہ دقت نہیں ہوئی ہمیں وہاں سے نکالنے میں۔ یہ جو اتنے بڑے شہر میں اس طرح خدا تعالیٰ اپنی حفاظت سے بغیر پوچھے مشن کے اتنا قریب لے جائے اور خود ہی انتظام کر دے، کوئی بے وقوف احمق ہی ہوگا جو کہے کہ سب اتفاقات۔ یہ نہیں شرط لگاتا کہ پہلے نیک ہو پھر میرے پاس آؤ، خدا تعالیٰ تو یہ چاہتا ہے کہ اپنا سب کچھ پیش کر دو، اور یہی اسلام کی روح ہے۔ جب آپ کہتے ہیں اسلمت لرب العالمین تو یہ نہیں کہا کرتے کہ میں مکمل طور پر نیک ہو چکا ہوں، اس لیے اب میں اس قابل ہو گیا ہوں کہ تجھے اپنے آپ کو تیرے سپرد کر دوں۔ اسلمت کا مطلب ہے جو کچھ میرا ہے میں تجھے دے رہا ہوں، اس میں اچھا بھی ہے، برا زیادہ ہوگا۔ میں بہت ناقص اور کمزور ہوں، بہت گندا بھی ہوں، لیکن میں چاہتا ہوں کہ تیرے سپرد اپنے آپ کو کر دوں کہ تجھ سے زیادہ محفوظ اور کوئی مقام میں نہیں دیکھ۔ تیرے سپرد کر دوں گا تو میری حفاظت فرمائے گا، میرے غم دور کرے گا، مجھے اچھائیوں کی طرف لے کے آگے بڑھتا چلا جائے گا۔ یہ ہے اسلام کی روح۔ اس روح کے ساتھ اپنے آپ کو خدا کے سپرد کرنے کا فیصلہ کریں، اور پھر دیکھیں کہ اللہ تعالیٰ کس شان کے ساتھ آپ کی دعاؤں کو قبول کرتا ہے، آپ سے پیار کا اظہار کرتا ہے، آپ کا ہو جاتا ہے، اور دن بدن آپ کی کمزوریاں دور ہوتی چلی جاتی۔ بچوں کے حال سے غافل ہیں، نہیں جانتے کہ ان کا رخ کس طرف ہے۔ ان کو اپنے بچوں کا شعور عطا فرمائے، اپنے بچوں کے لیے ایک نیا ضمیر بخشے، اور وہ ترقی کی اس راہ میں آگے بڑھیں جہاں سفر کے دوران وہ کم نہ ہوتے رہیں، بلکہ اور روحانی اولاد کو ساتھ ملا کر ان کا قافلہ بڑھتا چلا جائے۔
سارا وہ پیشوا ہمارا جسے ہے نور سارا۔
الرحمن الرحیم۔ السلام علیکم۔ It is our extreme good fortune to have in our presence this afternoon His Holiness Mirza Tahir Ahmad.
Mirza Tahir Ahmad, my good wishes are with you and all the members of the Ahmadiyya movement in Islam as your followers gather to celebrate your arrival to the United States.
Most honored to have been invited to attend these proceedings in my capacity as an elected member of the New York City Council, and especially as a member of the council whose area abuts this particular hotel. Tour.
Is in the world. This is exactly what the Holy Quran tells us. It says, وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ وَعَمِلَ صَالِحًا وَقَالَ إِنَّنِي مِنَ الْمُسْلِمِينَ. وَمَنْ أَحْسَنُ قَوْلًا, whose word of mouth is more charming, more beautiful than that of a person who calls towards Allah. But that is not the whole story. Everyone seems to be calling towards Allah in every religion. Man ahsanu qawlan mimman da'a ila Allahi wa amila salihan, then follows it up with beautiful deeds. His is the word which is most beautiful. The word alone is not beautiful at all unless it is supported with acts in unison with the word, with the message of the word. So, that was one purpose of my visit, to remind Ahmadis, particularly here in America, it's very important. It is so important that I think nowhere else in the world it is so important. For the whole universe, not only this world, but the whole universe. So any act which is contrary to the concept of peace is contrary to Islam. It is devoted on the authority, on reliable authority, that the founder of Islam declared it to be the very gist of the Holy Quran. And this is a chapter which begins with the expression of gratitude to the Almighty God, All-Sustainer, the Most Beneficent, the Ever-Merciful, the one who would be the sole proprietor on the Day of Judgment. So it is a custom that before thanking the people, we always recite this surah, because all praise belongs to God, and from God praise is deferred on others. This is the basic message of this verse, of this surah. So this is why I also recited the surah at this occasion. And now I want to say a few words regarding the purpose of my visit, and to give you an occasion later on to ask any questions as may agitate your minds.
Future of Ahmadiyya movement in Pakistan, and the rest of the part of this question is, how do you perceive your collaboration with other all political, secular in nature movements in Pakistan and in other parts of the world?
Wherever Khalifa is, the real spirit of the headquarters moves along, even if he goes somewhere temporarily. So the second part of the statement also needs to be corrected, that the headquarters now, today, is not in London, but here in New York.
We see on TV, Judaism and Christianity sit together and talk. The Islamic Muballigh is missing. Can we have Ahmadiyya Muballigh sitting with Christianity and Judaism and talking? I see, when you talk to the here Western world, they say, oh, Islam is Gaddafi, Islam is Khomeini. That is not the truth. Nobody has said Mirza Ghulam Ahmad, to whom I respect, did what is written as Juano. Jesus said, sword will be turned into plough. This is what Ahmadiyya movement is. Beautiful. Your Holiness, you were asked one question. There is a lot of animosity against Ahmadiyya. What should be done? And your answer was love. Beautiful. I love it. Can we have Ahmadiyya Muballigh or TV sitting with Rabbi, with the Rabbi and the pastor and discussing? What is the difference? Christianity and Judaism doesn't know how many times Jesus' name is in Quran, how many times Moses' name is in Quran, how closer we are, but outside on the ground we are far away.
I can attempt only to satisfy you, although as far as the results go, our efforts, they're not even satisfying to us. I should love to come to any discussing table, any dialogue table, with any religious head in the world, in private or in public. So as far as the reservations go, they are not from our side. In fact, the reservations are because if we present Islam, Islam would appear to be a beautiful religion, a charming thing, which would be to the disadvantage of those who hold the power over televisions and radios and the communication and other media. So why should they do it? But wherever we can make our headway, we are doing it, and perhaps it's not known to you, but if you listen to the second day address of the annual conference in London a few months ago, you will be, I'm quite certain, happier than today to note that we have broken through in many countries in this regard. For instance, a dialogue between a Christian questioner and myself has been televised in 4 states of Nigeria throughout the last year, and when they exhausted those video cassettes which they prepared after having come to London, they came again in greater strength this year, and again they have prepared the full program for the next year.
What role do women play in your movement?
They play a very good role. You know, they're very happy, very contented. There is no compulsion on our women to observe parda, for instance. You will see all sorts of pardas present here. And none is expelled from the community for observing a sort of parda she thinks is the right parda for her. So there is no compulsion. And yet they are happy, they are contented. The emphasis of Islam is on preservation of family units, as I've earlier pointed out briefly. And the whole education of Islam works towards that end. And if the family is happy and contented, then much of the evil which you encounter in the streets, in the television, on the radio, would have no reason to be there at all. And that is why the Ahmadi ladies have more pleasure in spending their time in good cause than wasting their time in ornaments and decorations and things. So the silent prayer, I lead with this condition that you who do not want to join should not join, please. And just sit complacent and happy about it. And it won't take very long. And those who want to join, they're most welcome. Ameen. So what to do? Thank you for coming.
I'd like you to come and visit our boss in Virginia.
Really?
So we're building a mosque.
Thank you. Glad to see you today. टोरंटो के लिए हाँ मैं जानता हूँ सऊदी के लिए
ये मेरे हस्बैंड है मैंने
अच्छा
कई दफा
मुझे पता लग गया हाँ
ये मेरे हस्बैंड है
आराम Give me the table in between, you know. Yeah. Others can see me. Yeah. Please, you can't see me, unfortunately. So I must embrace him. I was just trying to get my.
Salim साहब रास्ता बनाओ रास्ता बनाओ अच्छा बंदे
वहाँ मैं कई घंटे और ये दिन असल में displayed
He's on a board. It's an interface.
I love this. It's the first time word. Thank you very much. Thank you. Sound like. Some guests. How are you? Right? You Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu ashhadu la ilaha illallah وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله I bear witness that Allah alone is to be worshipped. He is one, having no partner. And I bear witness that Muhammad is the servant and messenger of Allah. I bear witness that Allah alone is to be worshipped. He is one, having no partner. And I bear witness that Muhammad is the servant and messenger of Allah. We hereby pledge I
my initiation, at the hands of Tahir Ahmad, and enter the Ahmadiyya movement, and seek forgiveness of Allah from all our past sins, and will do our utmost to guard ourselves against all kinds of sins in future. We will not associate anyone with Allah. We will not entertain ill will. We will not indulge in backbiting. We will not cause suffering to anyone. We will give precedence to our faith over all worldly objects. We will constantly endeavor to abide by all the commandments of Islam. We will try our utmost to read, listen to, recite, and narrate the Holy Quran, sayings of the Holy Prophet, may peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. The books of the promised Messiah, on him be peace. We will obey you in everything good that you will tell us. We will always have firm faith in the Holy Prophet, Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. As Khatam al-Nabiyyin, the seal of the prophets, and will believe in all the claims of the promised Messiah, on him be peace. Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. Astaghfirullah Rabbi min kulli dhanbin wa atubu ilayh. I beg pardon from Allah, my Lord, from all my sins, and turn to Him. I beg pardon from Allah, my Lord, from all my sins, and turn to Him. I beg pardon from Allah, my Lord, from all my sins, and turn to Him. ربي ظلمت نفسي واعترفت بذنبي فاغفر لي ذنوبي إنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت ربي إني ظلمت نفسي واعترفت بذنبي فاغفر لي ذنوبي إنه لا يغفر الذنوب إلا أنت. Oh my Lord, my Allah, I wronged my soul, and I confess all my sins. Pray forgive me my sins. But there is none except Thee to forgive. Oh my Lord, my Allah, I wronged my soul, and I confess all my sins. Pray forgive my sins. There is none except Thee to forgive. Ameen. Let's join in prayer.
प्यारे मेरे मोहसिन मेरे परवरदिगार.
With the presence of our spiritual leader, Hazrat Khalifa Masih IV.
I'm the Deputy City Representative and the Chief of Protocol for the City of Philadelphia. And I have the high honor of representing Mayor Good and welcoming you to Philadelphia. Job in India. And it is also a great honor to be here because in the city of Philadelphia, we have and we need more spirituality, not less of it.
Because if the purpose of a religion is not to lead to God, what other purpose a religion can serve? A religion becomes meaningless. So this is the most fundamental question which should be asked of every religious leader. But naturally, you should also expect that when you ask which way can I reach the God, every religious leader would tell you, yes, this way please. Step this way. I am right on the way which leads to God. But I am not going to answer you in that way at all, because I understand that we look at things from different perspectives, different angles, with different perspectives. And if I give you this answer, that would not lead you to anywhere. That would add further confusion to your thinking and your attraction towards religion. Perhaps you will be disillusioned. Mentioned, not only in space, it is reaching out towards different depths. Can you believe that only 100 years ago, the time was not a factor to be included in the concept of space? It has become an essential part. The world we knew was three-dimensional. Only by the turn of the century, it has really grown to be the four-dimensional world. And now we wonder how the great scholars of the last century could conceive a world of only three dimensions. Not only that, the scientists are now working on mathematical possibilities of a 14-dimensional world. And the ultimate unity, according to them, can only be reached if we are able to conceive a 14-dimensional existence. Shaken up is to be awakened. A realization is to be made. And that will never be made if I try to monopolize God and tell you, you come to me or you are destroyed. If you don't come to me, go to somebody else, however pious you may be in your intentions, how good you may be in your dealing with your human beings, you are hellbound. There is no door but this for your deliverance. If I adopt that attitude, being a religious leader, I would be, in fact, sending people away from the path of God rather than attracting them to the path of God. However much you try to reach me, you will not be able to do so by yourself, because I'm far too refined, far too beyond your limited capacities of understanding. And it is not essential for you either to reach me through a set course only, and by no other course. Only it is for you to come to me whichever way you think you can come to me. Make a choice of your liking, of your inner concept of truth, guided by your sincere sense of direction, which is inbuilt in you. Then Allah says, you will not be guided to me, I will guide you to myself. Translated this, for us in a different way. He told us that Allah had told him, Ana inda zanne abdi bi. I become like the perception of man of me about me. I become that which I am perceived. Now, what does that mean? It also is a very rich statement, but similar to the one I have already referred to in the Holy Quran. That once Moses was passing through a field, he observed a shepherd, an ignorant shepherd with haggard dress, sitting with some of his dirty clothes on his knees, and he was removing lice from those filthy clothes. And while doing this, he was pondering and addressing God and saying to God, "Oh my Lord, I love you so much that if I ever reach you, I'll take your clothes and remove their lice like I'm doing it with my own clothes. I'll wash them clean. I'll remove your thorns from your feet, and I'll rub ointments, and then I'll give you the best of the milk I have. Then I'll feed you, and I'll do this and do this, and I'll do all the fondling things which you could think of." Moses stood on a very high platform, a platform of much greater understanding. But he missed the most fundamental point, that however high he was in the sight of Allah, he was still low. It was not he who had reached God, God had reached him. Forgetting this, he became angry with this shepherd. He slapped him on the face. And that moment, he heard God in the most angry expression that he had ever heard. "Oh Moses, who are you to stand between me and my servant? Get aside. Don't interfere." It said, "I was enjoying it so much." That is the meaning of Ana inda zanni abdi bi. I become the concept of man which he holds of me. So every road would lead to God, and every road would be every stage you traverse on that road would be the object of the journey. You have to, in Ameen, you have to recite the 3 last surahs of the Holy Quran. Qul huwallah. For the better future, let's hope that all the Ahmadi children, wherever they live, in New York or New Jersey. That is what I mean. It is impossible for the character of God to be divided between the character of God and man.
And we welcome you, and we welcome the congregation here in Wellingborough. I'm here to say greetings from the Township Council and the Mayor, Paul Crane, who could not be here today.
The material, as opposed to religious values, whatever the nature of functions be, their concept of opening ceremonies is completely different. The verses of the Holy Quran which were read to you refer to a great momentous event when the first ever house built for the worship of Allah, for the benefit of all the mankind, was being reconstructed. Well, Lukman, I'll say the Adhan, please.
Allahu Akbar,
ये हल निकालने की कोशिश की कि ना हम मशरिक से ताल्लुक़ रखें, ना मगरिब से ताल्लुक़ रखें, और जिस चीज़ को हम इस्लाम समझते हैं
उसे दुनिया के सामने आज़ादाना पेश करें ताकि उसके ऊपर किसी बड़े ब्लॉक का असर दिखाई न दे। लेकिन बदनसीबी से जिसको उन्होंने इस्लाम समझा और इस्लाम देखा और इस्लाम के तौर पर पेश किया, वो खुद अपनी ज़ात में एक भयानक तस्वुर है जो हरगिज़ दुनिया को मुतमईन नहीं कर सकता।
Headquarters complex. 5 years ago, Hazur had expressed his desire that the Ahmadiyya Muslim community of USA would construct 5 new mosques and centers in 5 cities, namely...
Goes on addressing us by pointing out that when we say Alhamdulillah, all praise belongs to Allah, because it also means all praise is from God, so a reciprocal system of praise is automatically established. Always, if we search within ourselves, we'll find that we did not submit totally. We always kept something for ourselves. So you have to develop a searching mind which has a capability of introspective analysis, which has a capability of censuring you yourself. Unless you do that, you will not be able to understand the meaning of what Surah Fatiha says, Alhamdulillah, all praise is due to Allah. This can be acclaimed in 2 ways. This can be proclaimed in 2 ways. First, by complete submission of mind. God says so, so it should be so. But that is just a claim. It is not yet full and ripe with juice of essence. Once you agree, once you submit yourself to this statement, then the whole process begins all over again of finding yourself where you stand. And I assure you that whenever we say that, most of us do not know what they are saying. Remain beautiful. As long as you remain beautiful. Don't forget that the first house that was built for the worship of God, for the whole mankind, the house at Mecca, was rebuilt by Abraham and his son. It remained only beautiful till God and only God was praised there. And when the Holy Prophet of Islam found it, it was full of 365 idols. How could that place be called beautiful? चलता है कि हज़रत नूह के ज़माने में एक बहुत बड़ी तहजीब और बहुत बड़े तमद्दुन का दौरा था और हज़रत अक़दस मसीह मऊद अलैहिस्सलाम ने ये मामला बड़ी वजाहत से बयान फरमाया है कि एक बहुत ही अजीम शान तहजीब थी जिसकी मिसाल कम दिखाई देती है। राकत्तबा का इल्लल्लज़ीनहुम अराज़िलुना बादे अर्राह रहमकुमुल्लाह इन्नल्लाह यामुरु बिल अदल वल इहसान।
Troy, may I express welcome to the Ahmadiyya Movement congregation on the auspicious occasion of the laying of the foundation stone of its new mission house by its spiritual and religious leader, Hazrat Mirza Tahir Ahmad.
Mosque which is referred to as Masjid al-Nabawi, because
it was built by Hazrat Aqdas Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the holy founder of Islam. And again, as we read an account of how it was built, no ceremonies were held. Just a few of the devout servants of the Holy Prophet along with him started the building process, and everyone participated honorarily in the building till the finish. So far, no big damage has been done. So if there is a slightest shadow of a wrong intention, purify yourself.
City of the Council of City, please. Please join us in this. Thank you.
Ask any mullah and he would tell you, he will bear me out, this is exactly what happened. You know, let me tell you again if you're rather confused about it. They say that because the Holy Quran tells us he was not crucified. So he was not crucified. Then what happened to him? They say what happened to him was that Allah sent two angels, told them to catch hold of a Jew, and a very staunch enemy, abusive Jew for that matter, and completely transform him into the shape of Jesus Christ. And then open the seal roof by removing a few bricks, enter the room, drop this man there, lift Jesus Christ, then fly out of the same hole they had opened, then repair the hole so that the enemy can never suspect what had happened, and bring Jesus Christ to the fourth heaven and leave them at whatever they are left with. So as such, when the soldiers of the Roman Empire, along with the enemies of Jesus Christ, the Jews, who were the foremost in the enmity, they walked in a procession to get hold of Jesus Christ and to drag him to the point of crucifixion, to the place of crucifixion. It was a Jew all the time they were dragging, or coaxing on, or lashing from behind. It was a Jew who was crowned with a crown of thorns and not Jesus Christ. So the person who was hanged, according to them, and cried out, Eli, Eli, lema sabachthani, was that Jew. We believe it is preposterous. We believe it is the greatest insult to the institution of prophethood. We believe it is the greatest insult to the prudence and wisdom of God. What manner of God that was who was doing all this? Because we point out, number one, if God wanted to frustrate the Jews and make them realize that they had failed to achieve their objective of having Jesus Christ killed through crucifixion. If that was the purpose, he should have taken him alive before everybody, before the sight of everybody, so that the angels could ascend with him, leaving the Jews frustrated totally and helpless, and realizing that they couldn't do anything about it. Instead, God devised this. Now, to what result? Number one, it is an insult to the Holy Prophet, Jesus Christ, peace be upon him, because the Holy Prophet of Islam tells us that because I am so dear to Allah, Allah will never permit Satan to imitate me even in dreams. So thereby he tells us that it is highly insulting of a prophet if satanic people or evil people imitate him. Not only in real life, even Allah would not permit that to happen in the dreams. That being so, how could the same God order it himself, that the worst of the Jesus' enemies should be given the shape and style and the appearance so completely of Jesus Christ that the enemy should not be able to recognize any difference?
السلام علیکم مرزا صاحب. میں آپ کا شکر گزار ہوں کہ آپ نے ہمارے لیے وقت نکالا. آپ ہمیں مختصراً یہ بتائیں گے کہ آپ کا امریکہ کا دورہ کتنے عرصے کا ہے اور اس دورے کے مقاصد کیا ہیں؟
امریکہ کا دورہ تقریباً 6 ہفتے کا ہے اور میرے ہر دورے کا مقصد یہ ہوتا ہے کہ جماعت سے ملوں، زیادہ سے زیادہ احباب سے تعلق ہو، ان کے مسائل سے آگاہ ہوں، مشکلیں ان کو جانوں.
اب آپ کی طرف سے کہ گزشتہ یہ جو 12-14 سال کا عرصہ ہے، اس میں حالات قطع نظر ایک اس فیصلے کے جو کہ ہوا تھا اسمبلی میں، اس کے بعد جہاں تک جان و مال اور عزت و آبرو کے تحفظ کا تعلق ہوتا ہے، ڈے ٹو ڈے جو لائف ہوتی ہے، اس سلسلے میں حالات آپ لوگوں کے لیے بدتر ہو گئے ہیں، مشکل تر ہو گئے ہیں پاکستان میں، یا سچویشن
حالات کا بدتر ہونا یا نہ ہونا ایک ایسے امر سے تعلق رکھتا ہے جس کے متعلق آپ خوب باخبر ہیں. موجودہ رجیم کو جتنا استحکام ملے گا اور اپنی بقا پر یقین ہوگا، اتنا ہی یہ ہمارے معاملے میں کم ظلم کریں گے. ان کو ضرورت کوئی نہیں.
چاہیے تو میں آپ کا وائس آف امریکہ کی طرف سے اس بات کے لیے شکریہ ادا کرنا چاہتا ہوں کہ اپنی مصروفیات سے اپنا کچھ قیمتی وقت ہمارے لیے مختص کیا ہے. کچھ سوالات ایسے ہیں جن میں میں آپ کی رہنمائی کا گزارش یہ ہے کہ تیسری دنیا کے ممالک آج کل جن حالات سے گزر رہے ہیں، ان سے مدبرائی کا کیا مؤثر طریقہ ہو سکتا ہے؟
تیسری دنیا کے ممالک جن حالات سے گزر رہے ہیں، ان میں سب سے پہلے تو اس تجزیے کی ضرورت ہے کہ ان کی خرابیوں کی خواہ وہ اقتصادی ہوں یا سیاسی ہوں، بنیادی وجہ کیا ہے. میرے نزدیک جو اخلاقی گراوٹ ہے وہ سب سے زیادہ نمایاں کردار ادا کر رہی ہے. اس کے نتیجہ میں بدقسمتی سے تیسری دنیا کے تمام ممالک، یا یوں کہنا چاہیے کہ کم و بیش تمام ممالک کرپشن کا شکار ہو چکے ہیں. اور دنیاوی طور پر اللہ تعالیٰ نے جو بھی ان کو نعمتیں دی تھیں، ان سے استفادہ کرنے کی بجائے انہوں نے غلط جگہوں پہ استعمال کیا. مثلا نائجیریا ہے، خدا نے دولت، تیل کی دولت سے اس کو نوازا، لیکن اس وقت اس کی اقتصادی حالت بہت ہی بدتر ہے اور اکثر روپیہ غلط رستوں سے باہر گیا ہے، اس لیے کہ خود نائجیریا یہ کہتا ہے کہ ہم کرپٹ ہو گئے.
Hello, sir. Can you shake your father? No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay, sir.
یہاں نیچے کھڑے ہیں دوست. نہیں پھر جا کے کر لو.
شمس الزہا یہی
to be Mephistopheles, the Iblis. In the first place, he got afraid and he said, no, 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 please go away. He said, no, no, I'll show you everything, the path to greatest success, your greatest ambitions. But in the bargain, you must give me your soul. So ultimately, the bargain was stricken, and the drama goes on to reveal the fact that the satanic promises are never satiating, never fulfilled in spirit, but only fulfilled in form, and the thirst for that desire for which the bargain was made remains unquenched. So he leads from then on a most miserable life of holding in nature of something like power, and he's burning throughout in his heart, and the life becomes a hell here on earth. This is a very symbolic drama which is considered to be a mythical statement of things, while people forget that every day such a bargain is made with Satan. Every day of our life, in every country, in every nation. In fact, sometimes we make such bargains daily. And partial selling of souls is affected in everyday life. So sometimes it really becomes a large looming question whether to stay here or not, whether in that bargain of earning the worldly material wealth here, we may have to lose our souls, or the souls of our children, the future generation. So under these fears, as I have told you, some Ahmadi parents ask my advice whether we should stay here any longer or return home to our original poverty, or to the humble position we held before. My answer is that if you are quite certain that you cannot fight it out, then the only answer is just go back to wherever you belong. But that is not what I want Ahmadis to be. That is not how the battles for Islam will be won all over the world. Accept the challenge, face it. Create bold soldiers of Islam from among your children. Give them courage. Keep their heads upright in their values. And that will not be done by the organizations of Jamaat like Khudam Al-Ahmadiyyat, Fa'al Al-Ahmadiyya, Ansarullah. That is done right from the start. When the children are born, from then on, this struggle begins.
Senator Vance Hetke. I fully understand. Thank you for coming over. Please. Would you like to say? Yes, please. Yes, please. I will request Senator Vance Hetke to say a few words. Please.
My name is Vance Hartke. I was in the United States Senate for 18 years, and I'm come here tonight because His Holiness Mirza Tahir Ahmad is the supreme head of the worldwide Ahmadiyya Muslim community, which has many active chapters inside the United States of America. So it's a privilege for all of us tonight, not alone to meet with him, but to hear him. You see, there's a great deal of common understanding among the different religions of the world. And there's always an emphasis on that idea of shared values, which can help to create an environment which is conducive to harmony and peace and love, which is, all of us know today, the crying need of all humanity. Ahmadiyya Muslim community is well known for its services to humanity. It's produced eminent personalities of world renown who, like Sir Sarullah Khan, the first foreign minister of Pakistan, and President of the United Nations General Assembly, and President of the International Court of Justice at The Hague, and Dr. Salam, the first Muslim Nobel Laureate. And we want you to know, sir, Your Holiness, we welcome your visit, We trust it will be an enjoyable one and a useful one. It's a gift.
So much.
Now, wait, I want to tell you what this is. Don't be in such a hurry.
Well, I can bear with you for a while.
Well, you know, you have no choice. This is the cup, and it has inscribed on it the seal of the United States of America. And so when you drink of this cup, I want you to remember that you're drinking to the cup of human friendship, love, peace, and understanding.
I know that you in your heart believe that too. And I'm very grateful that you are here and that you're not in a prison somewhere where you could not be effective. And I'm thankful to be here in this moment. And the question I have is that when you reach heaven, what do you think God will ask you?
Well, thank you very much. First of all, now this is a very important question. Not with reference to me, but with reference to every man who has to appear ultimately to a place of answerability. So I'll attend to that question as such in a wider dimension. But before that, let me express my gratitude for the words of sympathy you offered. And I assure you that I reciprocate your feelings. I know many Moonites. They have come to London and discussed matters with me, and we have exchanged views in perfectly civil and humane way. Cannot speak for humanity at large, because only Rama can teach us where we belong and our interrelationship. Because man cannot understand relativity when he is directly himself involved in the relativity. I'm not talking of general theory of Einstein or special theory of Einstein. I'm talking of the principles of real relativity as understood by man. When you are an actor in a larger game, much wider than your scope of understanding, always points to goodness. So God chooses them for his contact point. And may become, however ugly he may look to you, there will always be some hidden beauty in him. Some angels from which he will be found to carry certain attractive features, certain attractive habits. Even the most criminal among the criminals have some loyalty to their friends, sometimes sacrifice their friends. So they say, even the most beastly of animals have expressions of love and expression of sacrifice in their relationship to their family and so on. So this is the most important lesson which I have learned from my Holy Master, the Holy Founder of Islam, peace and blessing, Allah be upon him, and to this I bring your attention. If you pray God, don't play God in slogans. Don't tell people God is with me because I asked for $10 million and he gave me $10 million. Why is he so preferential? Why doesn't he give everybody $10 million each?
Because they were getting tuberculosis from it. In the war, those 300 years, generation after generation of people saw innocent people being persecuted. Only for the crime that they called people to go and to God. Though the crime was committed to them. The result was that they had a reaction, which reaction was carried generation after generation as was growing, until that explosive stage arrived where the revolution was bound to take place. So when that monarch in 308 of the Christian era declared that he had become a Christian, there was no reaction against Christianity. Christianity had already become popular. So the entire country became Christian. That is what I mean happens in the case of suppression of truth, and that is what we are witnessing today is happening. Even in Pakistan there are signs appearing.
To remind you of what purpose must always be kept in mind regarding the building of mosques.
What is
combination of colors expressed in an artistic and deepest artistic manner. Small village by the name of Kharjan, 72 miles east of Lahore. Later on, during the partition of India, I, along with most of the Ahmadiyya community members, migrated to Pakistan.
देखे ना जवाब आपको नजर आए अच्छा देखिए शाबाश